Welcome to the Tribal Data Toolbox course, exercise 11, and in this exercise we're going to talk about intermediate data review, flagging data based upon logbook entries. And here's a picture of a logbook written in pen, and here's a picture of me, the way I'll be talking at you when you need help with data analysis. So our exercise is exercise 11, and it's very straightforward. It talks about the fact that in our logbook we found an entry on August 22nd at 8 o'clock in the morning when the site operator got there. And actually, in this case, I'm the site operator, right? And I had forgotten about this until I reviewed the logbook. And because there were high winds that started about 9 or 10 last night, and the shelter door blew open at some point in the night, and we're not sure when, we're going to flag all that data. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. In fact, it could be fine, but we just want to be able to find it easily later. So I'm going to open up the toolbox, and now we're looking at this quarterly data backup and review. But I encourage you to use this more frequently than every quarter. Basically, before your data are final, you have to complete these two steps. Now, you may not have any logbook entries for the period of time that you're reviewing data for that you want to make a note of in the toolbox. But if you do, this is how you do it. So you click on this logbook and external information data flagging, and it opens up this window. And the first thing I say is, whoa, this looks different. Click here for help file. So I'm going to pull up the SOP for logbook and external information data flagging, which is the intermediate phase of data review. So if you remember, when we pulled the data into the toolbox, we did the first phase of data review because that's the first time you're looking at your data, and when you're importing it, you can easily look at it to look at different ranges. And we did that when we imported the data in the first step here, in this continuous and MET monitoring step. Now we've got the data all the way through into the archive table, and it is time for us to start looking at the data in more detail. So the first step of the exercise talks about continuous monitoring and how to pull up that data. So I'm going to look at the SOP, and I see that the first step is to click this top green button. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and make sure that I follow along with this SOP. So looking at, just for example, if this were the entry in the logbook, we see that the door was found open on the morning of August 22nd at 8 o'clock a.m. However, we know that there were high wind speeds last night. So the assignment is to flag this, and what we'll probably want to do is flag the data back to when we know the high wind started, since maybe it was around then that the door flew open. So we're looking at August 22nd at 8 a.m. back to probably August 26th at 9 p.m. So we're going to go and look at these different categories. These categories are the continuous monitoring. So this would be for our ozone. So we're going to use this block right here. But if you had MET data that you wanted to flag, you would select that data using this block here. And if you've got filter data for PM, if you've got data off of your analyzer and you want to flag it because you found something in your logbook pertaining to the analyzer perhaps, or you get an audit report and you want to flag a set of data that you're suspicious about, you would use this block. Or here, if you got, for example, after you imported the data from the lab, if they emailed you and said, oh, one of those filters is invalid because of something or another, you would flag that data here. So we're going to be looking at ozone data from Site 1 and Sampler ID 1. Remember, 1 is the routine one. Instrument 4 was the one we borrowed from the TAM Center. And ozone is what that instrument monitors for. 2006 is the only data in the toolbox so far. When you start using the toolbox, you'll have multiple years here as you add data. And then this automatically populates with the full range of data, but we know we want to look at 821. So we're going to use this. You can also type in the box here and it will automatically take you to the first 821. So we're going to look at 821 at 9 p.m. through 822 at 7 a.m. We're going to view this selected data. We say, yeah, here it is. It looks okay, but we know the shelter door was open, so we are just going to flag that. So I'm going to click the lower X, and I'm going to say qualify selected data, and that will add flags. Remember, it doesn't exclude the data from AQS. It just adds flags so you can find it more easily later. So I'm going to click OK. It will run a query that will modify data in my table, 11 rows. If you remember, there were 11 rows from 9 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning. And now let's look at what we flagged, and we see we've added this Q2 flag, which is excellent because now we know when we review this data in the archive table that this Q2 flag, which we're writing down in our database logbook right now, pertains to this set of data when the shelter door was open. So I'm going to close that, and we are finished with exercise 11. So I'm going to take this back to exit form, and that was exercise 11 of the Tribal Data Toolbox.